You are looking at what appears to be a lump of useless charcoal. This is one too. And this. But these blackened, fragile cylinders are actually the survivors of a 2,000-year-old library, carbonized and sealed by the fury of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. For centuries, opening them meant instant destruction. But now, a revolutionary artificial intelligence has done the impossible, reading the ink locked deep inside these scrolls without ever unrolling them, revealing secrets scholars thought were lost forever. To understand how we finally cracked this ancient code, we have to travel back to the day the ash fell. On October the 24th, 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius unleashed a pyroclastic surge that swept across the Bay of Naples at temperatures reaching 300 degrees Celsius. Within moments, this superheated wave of gas and rock entombed the coastal town of Herculaneum, burying it under 60 feet of volcanic material. Organic matter normally destined to rot wood, food and human tissue was instantly charred. Inside a grand Roman estate known as the Villa of the Papyri, hundreds of rolled papyrus scrolls underwent a rapid chemical transformation. The intense, moisture-stripping heat baked the plant fibres into solid carbon before they could catch fire. Immediately after, a dense mud flow sealed the villa, cutting off oxygen and protecting the blackened remains from decay. This violent burial created a startling physical paradox. In the rest of the Roman Empire, every major library crumbled to dust, destroyed by war, moisture, and insects. Catastrophe spared this single collection of classical thought, shielding it from the elements for 2,000 years. Yet, the very volcanic fury that rescued the library also took away its voice. The extreme heat fused the delicate sheets together, turning scrolls of philosophy into fragile cylinders of charcoal. To touch them was to shatter them. The texts were saved, but they were silenced. In 1738, Spanish military engineer Roque Joaquin de Alcubierre began searching for ancient treasures to decorate the palace of Charles III, the Bourbon king of the Two Sicilies. Tunneling through 60 feet of hardened volcanic rock, Alcubierre struck the first Roman ruins of Herculaneum. This state-sponsored hunt soon converged on a massive, buried seaside estate that would become known as the Villa of the Papyri. On October the 19th, 1752, workers digging wells near modern Resina unearthed something unexpected alongside marble statues and vibrant mosaics. They pulled up blackened, cylindrical lumps of carbon. Initially, the excavators dismissed these objects as burnt wood or debris, throwing many into the waste heaps or even burning them for warmth. However, a closer inspection of their uniform shape and concentric structure revealed a startling reality. These were ancient papyrus scrolls, fused shut but intact. To bring scientific order to the chaotic excavation, Swiss military engineer Carl Jakob Weber joined the Bourbon project. Weber directed systematic underground surveys, documenting the villa's layout with remarkable precision. His detailed drawings and engravings, later published in the lavish royal folios of Le Anticità di Ercolano Esposte, introduced the intellectual world to the treasures of Herculaneum. Through Weber's structured excavation, the true scale of this ancient library became clear. Workers recovered approximately 1,800 fragments, representing an estimated 800 original volumes. Scholars realized they had found the largest surviving library from the Greco-Roman world, a priceless physical archive of classical thought. Yet, this coveted collection remained completely unreadable, frozen in carbonized stone. The scrolls were counted and protected under royal custodianship, but their contents remained entirely locked away. In June 1753, a Vatican manuscript curator named Antonio Piaggio arrived in Naples to confront this silent archive. Rejecting the cruder methods of his contemporaries, Piaggio designed a mechanical frame that suspended the scroll above a wooden base. His device utilized thin silk threads carefully glued to the scorched outer edge of the papyrus. By turning small pegs to wind the threads under minute, constant tension, the mechanism slowly peeled the carbonized layers apart, millimetre by millimetre, over several months. This painstaking apparatus yielded the first readable passages of ancient Greek, proving that the blackened cylinders preserved classical philosophy. Yet, this early success carried immense danger. The volcanic baked fibres were incredibly brittle, holding together only by the weakest physical bonds. Every micro movement of the silk threads strained the delicate layers, causing immediate microscopic fractures. If the tension varied even slightly, or if the ancient layers resisted separation, the papyrus fractured and turned to ash. Piaggio's work became a tense, agonizingly slow rescue operation rather than a clean act of scholarship. For every line of text successfully exposed, fragile fragments of the scroll fell away and were lost forever. The machine proved that the library's secrets could be recovered, but it also made a chilling reality clear. Physical touch itself remained a direct threat to their survival. In the late 18th century, the race to read the scrolls turned to cruder, more violent tactics. Pietro Fabretti sliced the charcoal cylinders vertically in half down their length. He then scraped away the exposed layers one by one to reveal the writing. While this brutal technique exposed a few readable lines, it physically shaved away and destroyed the inner layers of the papyrus. The fragments were rescued, but the core of the scrolls was ground to dust. By the mid-19th century, Giuseppe Fiorelli attempted a chemical approach. He treated the carbonized rolls with mercury and a mixture of gelatin and acetic acid, hoping to soften the fused fibres so they could be peeled. Instead, the aggressive chemical reactions frequently dissolved the ancient carbon-based ink directly off the surface, rendering entire scrolls completely blank and permanently illegible. Even as modern technology arrived, the destruction continued. In the 1980s, a Norwegian team led by Knut Klev attempted a gentler chemical softening process using a combination of water, gelatin, and acetic acid. While this method exposed some writings by the philosopher Philodemus, the softened papyrus still required physical manipulation. The fragile plant fibres could not withstand even the gentlest human touch, and pieces continued to flake away during handling. Each attempt exposed a few new letters at the cost of the artifact itself. With every generation of physical experiments, scholars gained a little more text, but lost a little more of the ancient library. By the late 20th century, the surviving scrolls had become so scarred and fragile that all physical interventions had to stop. The archive was locked away in Naples, silent and untouchable, a collection of charred ruins that could no longer survive the human hands trying to read them. In 2023, computer scientist Brent Seals decided to bypass traditional academic isolation and turn the Herculaneum scrolls into a global, open-source competition. Partnering with Silicon Valley technologists, Seals launched the Vesuvius Challenge. They established a prize pool exceeding $1 million, including a $700,000 grand prize, to incentivize anyone who could programmatically isolate and read the ink hidden within the carbonized layers. The core of this new approach rested entirely on open data. The organizers publicly released high-resolution three-dimensional Xray scans captured at particle accelerators, including the diamond light source. These scans mapped the scrolls at a resolution of up to 4 micrometers, capturing the physical structure of the carbonized sheets down to the submicron scale. For the first time, the ancient library was no longer treated as a fragile physical artifact locked in an Italian archive. It became a shared computational task, freely downloadable under an open license. Within weeks, the challenge ignited interest across global technical platforms. Over 3,000 programmers, data scientists, and machine learning hobbyists converged on communities like GitHub, Kaggle, and Discord. They began collaborating, sharing raw code, and building customized denoising pipelines to handle the metal particle streaks and complex density changes in the volumetric scans. By converting a specialized archaeological bottleneck into a community-driven computer science race, the project changed the entire momentum of the recovery effort. The search was no longer limited to specialized papyrologists working in isolation. It now belonged to a global network of engineers working to crack a 2,000-year-old puzzle. The physical heart of this digital reconstruction lies in the microscopic structure of the scans themselves. Synchrotron facilities expose the carbonized papyri to high-energy X-rays, producing phase contrast tomographic scans at a resolution of 4 to 7 micrometers. This process does not merely capture a flat photograph of the scroll, instead it measures how the X-rays shift and bend as they pass through different materials, mapping the entire three-dimensional object down to a sub-micron scale. The resulting data exists as a massive volume of voxels, three-dimensional pixels, that capture the internal geometry of the fused layers. Reading this data presents a monumental obstacle. The ancient writers used carbon-based ink made of charcoal and water, applied directly to papyrus that was later baked into pure carbon by the volcano. Because the chemical composition of the ink and the scorched plant fibres is nearly identical, standard imaging cannot distinguish between them. There is almost no density contrast to create a clear visual outline. The volumetric files are also filled with physical noise, such as metal particle streaks from the scanning hardware, mineral deposits absorbed from the volcanic mud, and complex reconstruction artifacts. To find the writing, computer scientists turn to machine learning, utilizing three-dimensional convolutional neural networks and advanced UNet architectures. Because human eyes cannot see the ink within the grey density variations of the raw scans, researchers had to teach the algorithms what to look for. They trained the models using synthetic scrolls, digital simulations created by computationally rolling up known text written with carbon ink and embedding it into simulated background noise. Programmers also fed the networks hand-labelled training data from physical fragments where the ink had already been exposed and verified. The neural network processes the volumetric data layer by layer, examining the tiny textures and patterns of the papyrus surface. Rather than looking for letters directly, the model calculates the probability that any given voxel contains ink, producing highly accurate probability maps. The algorithm filters out the random noise of mineral deposits and scanning streaks, isolating the subtle, microscopic traces left by the ancient pen. Once the ink is identified, the system must reconstruct the physical structure of the roll. A segmentation algorithm traces the tightly wrapped sheets, separating the nested layers of the scroll like the skins of an onion. A custom flattening program then maps the curvature of each layer, virtually unwrapping the spiral geometry into flat two-dimensional planes. This computational process transforms a fragile, carbonized cylinder into a layered digital book. The ancient writing is pulled from the center of the fused mass, reconstructed pixel by pixel without a single physical fiber being touched or damaged. In late 2025, researchers targeted P-Herc 1667, a relatively intact 5-foot roll preserved at the Biblioteca Nazionale di Napoli, to attempt the first complete virtual unwrapping of an unopened scroll from start to finish. Rather than extracting isolated scraps, the computational pipeline mapped roughly 1.5 meters of flattened papyrus, exposing 20 sequential columns of ancient Greek script. This continuous, unbroken reading provided a clean, systematic test of the virtual unwrapping method on a fully intact artifact. To verify this digital reconstruction, lead papyrologist Dr. Carlo Bianchi at the University of Naples systematically cross-checked the output against known historical fragments. Using the classical text editor, Bianchi compared the reconstructed glyph shapes and syntactic structures with catalogued Hellenistic writings. The process required manual intervention for approximately 12% of the characters to resolve ambiguities caused by faded ink and overlapping physical layers. This rigorous human correction refined the initial machine learning output, achieving an estimated transcription accuracy exceeding 90%. By keeping human expertise central, scholars proved that artificial intelligence assists historical research rather than replacing it. The resulting text was then corroborated through independent reviews by experts at the University of Oxford and the Bibliothèque de l'Institut de France. Instead of revealing sensationalized or unverified claims, the recovered writing proved to be a highly structured philosophical treatise on ethics and human nature, mirroring the didactic style of the philosopher Philodemus. Key terms like virtue and pleasure appeared in systematic sequences, confirming the document's scholarly context without relying on speculation. This successful validation demonstrated that science and humanities can converge to restore lost history. For the first time, a sealed, ancient text has been read through verified computation, establishing a trusted methodology to read the hundreds of scrolls that still remain completely closed. This digital triumph does not mean the work is finished, nor does it guarantee an easy path for the remaining 600 scrolls. Machine learning algorithms can misinterpret physical damage or mineral stains as ancient ink, creating false positives that distort historical records. To guard against these digital illusions, researchers have established a strict two-tier verification system, requiring every AI-generated reconstruction to be independently vetted by at least 2 classical papyrologists. Critics writing in the Classical Quarterly have already warned against celebrating a methodology before its physical and computational limits are fully understood. While open source data accelerates global collaboration, it collides with Italian cultural patrimony laws. The physical artifacts remain under the strict custodianship of the Biblioteca Nazionale di Napoli and the Parco Archeologico di Herculano, where authorities must balance global open access demands with national preservation standards and reproduction fees. True stewardship requires disciplined optimism. Virtual reading protects these carbonized ruins from physical harm, but recovering the rest of this ancient library depends entirely on maintaining rigorous, transparent peer review as technology continues to map the fragile layers. We have finally crossed a threshold where physical decay no longer silences the past. As algorithms decipher these scorched fragments, we are resurrecting voices thought lost forever. The implications extend far beyond Herculaneum. An entire buried library is waiting to speak. What other forgotten histories will we choose to rewrite next? Join the conversation in the comments below.